Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Be My Guest. I'm your host, Eric Guest. In today's episode, I will be covering a topic that I believe is incredibly important for a handful of different reasons, but I would say one of the most important reasons why it is so important. The topic is acceptance and forgiveness. And not only acceptance and forgiveness of yourself, but of others and past situations. But the reason it's so important is because without the ability to accept yourself in its entirety or accept those around you for what they are, whatever their truest expression is, or to forgive past actions or forgive people for things they've done in the past. If you cannot accept, if you cannot forgive, you'll never detach from the past. You'll always be tied to the past, whatever those situations are, whatever those past experiences, past traumas are. You'll always be dragging along that baggage, and you'll always be constricted and chained to those situations or the people that committed or did whatever thing to you from the past. So that's going to be the topic of today's discussion, or the topic of today's episode. Earlier this morning, I woke up really early. I woke up at about probably 2-3 a.m. and I went for a walk. It's a lot of snow here in Canada. It's cold, but I went for my walk, maybe 40-ish minutes, and I'm doing this speech. I'm kind of going over the monologue in my head of, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to talk about these topics. Well, I don't even go into a walk saying, oh, I hope or I plan to talk about these topics. I kind of see what comes up naturally, what is on my mind naturally, and after I finish the walk, I say to myself, okay, I hope I can come and bring that to the show. I hope I can bring some of those little things that I talked about in my mind or discussed in my mind. I hope those come up again in the moment of having the camera on and actually being in action of recording. So we will see if some of those similar stories or similar thoughts come out in the expression of the episode today. I think it will. But why I think it's so important to we'll start with acceptance. And I think it's hard to fully accept people around us. We will always be looking at their flaws. We'll always be looking at the negative things they do. We'll always be aware of things that they do that may be annoying to us or disturb us in some sort of way. So there will always be these things. And I think this is very common amongst family members, amongst friends, amongst people potentially you spend the most time with, that if you cannot fully embrace them and fully accept everything that they are to the fullest extent, you'll always be looking and always be drawn towards potential negativities, or you'll always spin a narrative about someone that portrays them in a negative light if you don't learn to accept them for what they are. But beyond accepting other people, I think the hardest thing to do is accept ourselves and to forgive ourselves, essentially, because we can look at our lives, we can look at the current moment of our lives, where we ended up in life, maybe the job we have now, the relationship we're in, the family, the living situation, whatever it is, we can look at our current situation in life and we can, maybe we're proud of that, we're elated, we're very happy with how our lives turned out, the situation we're in, or we can be very upset and very pessimistic and negative towards the life that we are currently living. So you have to be able to learn to accept yourself as well as others, but more importantly, I think acceptance of yourself and acceptance of things you went through, past experiences, past traumas, and try to detach and say, maybe I did something when I was younger. Maybe I went through something when I was younger. But accept that you aren't that same person that went through that then. Accept that you have grown from that. Accept that you have learned from whatever those situations are. And try to sever the constraints of the past, of the person of the past. And I think acceptance is so important when it comes to kind of, I would say, this turmoil that we're in currently in society. We have a lot of changes, I would say, happening, and a lot of changes have been happening since the pandemic and since COVID lockdown and some of the things that went on. So learning to accept that there are changes in the world, learning to understand that there are changes in the world. I think accepting them, but succumbing to them and not providing any pushback to them are two different things. But accepting is kind of the first hurdle to then understanding what the situation actually is, or understanding what the problem actually is. You have to accept that maybe there is a problem in your life, or accept that maybe there are things that you are doing that are stopping you from becoming the person you want to be, or achieving the thing you want to achieve, or getting the dream job or the dream career that you want. So accepting the things in your immediate presence, your immediate circle, that are deteriorating your likelihood of achieving these things. So I wish when I was walking on my walk, I just had a camera. I just need to be live at all times and just spewing whatever comes out. But that's the beauty of being able to detach and go for a walk and have different thoughts compared to coming and sitting in front of the camera and then having these thoughts. But we'll talk about forgiveness as well. And these two kind of tie together. It's acceptance and it's forgiveness. I think they're related heavily, that you need to accept things of the past and you need to forgive things of the past. Forgive maybe the person you were of the past, or the people that caused harm or trauma to you of the past. And those two combined then liberate you and free you to then be the best version or the freest version of yourself in the present moment. But you have to go to the past. You have to look around in the past and get your scalpel out and dig and look and see what things are tying me to the past. What negative ideas, what negative experiences or traumas do I continuously play out in my mind that are keeping me tied to the past? And whatever those are, you need to find them, and then you need to deconstruct and reverse engineer whatever those problems are. If you have a problem that you think about in your life still to this day that is 10 years old or 12 years old or 15 years old, or a problem from childhood, a traumatic experience from childhood, and you constantly think about it still and it has an impact emotionally on your life now, that just shows that you haven't fully come out of that problem. You haven't solved that problem in its entirety, and you're still connected to the past. So you're dragging around that emotional baggage. You're tied to the constraints, the chains of whatever that problem is. So forgiving and accepting. I wish I had that. I wish I had the speech as I was just doing it as I was going. But I think we, in today's day and age, we are creatures of the past and we're creatures of the future. And what do I mean by that? I mean, we don't spend the majority of our time in the present moment. I think we spend the majority of our time either in some sort of fantasy future, thinking about situations of the future, thinking about how the future may look for us, or putting on the pedestal a job that you want, or a career, or a relationship, a female, a person, amounts of money, wealth, cars, house, material objects. We're always fantasizing about the future. So whenever we're doing that, we're not in the present moment and living and creating in the eternal now, which is the present moment. So we're either fantasizing about the future or we're living in the past. And we're going into the past and we're thinking about negative things. We're thinking about what we did that caused our lives or brought us to our current situations in life. So we're ruminating in the past or we're fantasizing about the future. And I think those two things will pull you away from what you need to ultimately be doing, which is living in the now. Because the now is what creates the future. The now, doing whatever you choose to do in the now and create and provide and produce in the now, is what then creates that job you're looking for, or that career, that relationship, that wealth. That is just fantasy. Anything that you're thinking about, the materialistic things that you think about in the future, it's all achievable, it's all attainable, but it is what you do in the now to create that future. Because essentially we are architects and engineers of the future. Anything that you envision, anything that you speak into creation, or you think into creation, because it is yet to come into fruition. But whatever the idea is, whatever the goals that you set out, they're all attainable, they're all achievable, but it's always the now. And I'll talk about the past as well. I think people can get lost in the past. I think the past is incredibly beneficial for a lot of different reasons. For example, reading books. Books are a form of time travel in a sense. You can go into the past and see the minds and see the ideas of great thinkers from different millennial and different ages and different decades and centuries. So you can see all these great ideas, but you don't want to... A saying I use is, when you go into the past, tie off to the present so you don't get lost in the eternal past. By that I mean, similar to how rock climbers, when they're climbing, they tie off on the rock, so if they fall, they don't fall and die, essentially. So tie off before you go into the past and digging around and looking for information or looking for past experiences. But if you extrapolate great things and great ideas and knowledge and information from the past, that's incredibly beneficial. But if you are constantly thinking about sad times, or you're thinking about, and here's another example. We all know those people that they only ever talk about times of the past. Remember when we were really living it up in high school? Remember those days in college that we were the shit. We were really living it up. We had the best time. We were carefree. And it's those types of stories you continuously loop in your mind, being in that time, and it's taking away from the opportunity of the present to create and better the future. Constantly living in those stories, it's like people are trapped in a time machine of their college days or whatever their prime years were. And we all know those people. We all know the people that are 40, 50 years old on the bar stool talking about their heyday in college when they were QB or when they were captain of the football team, whatever it is. You know those people that are out there in their late ages that can't seem to detach themselves from the past to fully live and be in the present moment. And I think that is due to a few different reasons. I think it's due to potentially the present moment being dim and glim. The present moment may not be the best thing in the world. It may be hard. the job you're currently doing, the hours you're spending. It may be depressive, it may be very hard. So it's easier to escape into the past of good times or escape into the future of some sort of fantasy that your life may look like, because the current situation is filled with hardship. And I think our current situation in the world is filled with hardship. It's filled with a time of uncertainty. It's filled with a time of a lot of unease. It's filled with hatred online and a lot of battling ideologies and people being murdered over speaking on a microphone, and there's ideas and ideologies. So there's a lot of chaos in the world right now, in the current moment. So with that, it's easy to escape to the future or escape to the past. But I think we need to accept what's going on. We need to accept the current moment, look at it for what it is, and then dissect the problems and try to extract any positivity we can that we can take and benefit the future. So we need to extract the gold from the current moment, even though it may look like there's no gold. It may look like the current moment there is absolutely no gold, but the harder you look, the more gold you'll find. There's always gold to be found. Well, maybe not. I think there's a finite amount of gold in the world. So that last part is a contradiction. What else? I got to read my notes here. I try to just go off the cuff, but I have to read some of the notes at some point. One of the hardest things I would say I've had to overcome is learning acceptance and learning forgiveness. Because going through mental health problems, getting sent to a psychiatric facility, and then coming out of that and not liking what my life turned into, or not liking the person I became, or some of the actions and things I did in times of sorrow or in times of distress, but learning to accept that that person was the person of the past, learning to accept that I can detach from that person and I can evolve into something new. There's always the opportunity to evolve out of the past. You can always evolve out of the person you were yesterday or the person you were a year ago. Nobody says you can't change every single day of the week. You can change your haircut, you can change the way you dress any day of the week. You can do that. So you can always evolve out of who you were. And that's a hard thing to learn. I think it takes time to learn acceptance and forgiveness of yourself, to forgive yourself that maybe it was your fault you ended up in certain situations. Maybe it was your fault your life ended up how it is now. But I think to accept that it is your fault and take ownership of that is important, but as well forgive yourself and try to take the positive mindset out of that forgiveness and acceptance to then go and walk a path that you truly want to walk in life. Walk a path of meaning, walk a path of purpose and love and passion, all of these things. But you'll never get to walk that path if you never accept and forgive yourself for some of the things that you've done in your life, is the message that I will bring. But forgiveness and acceptance, I attribute that 100% to the women in my life. I believe women have this innate ability, their instinctual ability is one of their superpowers, is the ability to forgive and the ability to accept. The ability that women have to forgive people, I think, is incredibly important. And I think it's incredibly important that we as men try to learn that from women, that they have that to offer, as well as many other things, but this ability to forgive. Because I think as men, we have more of this tribal instinct of revenge and an eye for an eye, or whatever you've done to my ancestors, whatever you've done to my lineage, I hold that anger. I hold that chip on my shoulder that one day I will get my revenge. I think that's more the instincts that men have. But for women, if you look at history, they have to forgive. It's not only they have to forgive, I think it's they do choose to forgive in a lot of instances, but I believe if women didn't have this ability for forgiveness, we would cease to exist as the human race ultimately. Because think about the atrocities of women essentially throughout history, the suppression, I don't want to be too vulgar, but when you think about war and you think about tribes taking over tribes, or countries taking over other countries, empires taking over other empires, it's the women are the ones who are slaughtered and raped and used as sex slaves and this sort of thing. I was trying to work around words, but the men are killed and used as slaves and labor essentially too, but the women, this is repeatedly, they are at the mercy of the men for the entirety of our history and the entirety of the human race. So they have this ability to forgive men and forgive men of the past for what they have done repeatedly, time and time and time again. And if you look at history repeating itself, it's likely you can infer a conclusion if you look at history that similar things will happen. So their ability to accept and forgive men for so many atrocities, I think that is so unique, and it is more unique to women than it is men. But I think taking that from women and understanding and learning from them in that sense is how I have tried to learn acceptance and forgiveness ultimately, is because some of the hardships of women in my life, some of the things that they have dealt with, and learning them, it's easy to hear the stories and hear things that happen to women and go, yeah, I'll go to jail if that happened to my daughter, no matter what the consequences are, no matter if I'm taken out, if my head is put on a stake, if something like that happened to my daughter, I'm seeking revenge. I think that's instinctual for men, but I think it's more important to try to take a step back and not let emotions and anger be the first thing that takes the light essentially, and rampages through and rampages as the actions of revenge and an eye for an eye and this sort of thing, this reactionary revenge. I think humanity as a whole, we need to evolve out of reactionary revenge or this sort of seeking revenge for past things. And I think, yes, sure, that's easier to say as the white man. Yeah, for sure it is. But if we continue down this path of one tribe or one empire having the power, and then once they collapse, the other people seek revenge, and then the other people seek revenge, I think we've got to a point technologically with our advanced weaponry that we cannot continue to live with these tribal instincts, of revenge and seeking revenge. I truly believe we are at the precipice of needing to evolve out of that at all costs, because we're at the point where if some of the tribal instincts, some of the tribal emotions take the lead, we will essentially destroy humanity and destroy the earth in the blink of an eye. I think that's kind of the stakes that we're at. So essentially the broad message we'll take out of that little story is We need to incorporate and learn from the great women in our lives and this divine feminine nature of forgiveness and acceptance, and use that and take it not only on a broad scale of how the world works, but on a personal level as well, and use that forgiveness and that acceptance, those techniques in your own life to propel yourself into a better human, a better civilian of society. Yeah, a couple good things in there, I would say. But yeah, I think we are on the verge, and I think a lot of, I believe, smart people in this world, or people in power, or at the top of a lot of these institutions, recognize that we're at a pivotal point with our nuclear weapons and AI technology and drone warfare, these sort of things, that tribal instincts and tribal emotional instincts of revenge can't win. They can't win anymore. But what's scary about that proposition is that they've won. They've always won. Not just they've won, they have always won. In the entirety of humanity, in the entirety of humanity's history, tribal instincts win. They always win. So how do we escape, and how do we conquer tribal instincts? How do we conquer our unconscious instincts? And I think we need to study Carl Jung more, because I think he's one of these figures, one of these great minds that has done a lot of work and extrapolated a lot of information and a lot of knowledge and wisdom out of sort of the unconscious mind. But if you look at some of Jordan Peterson's lectures as well, he talks about Carl Jung, and he talks about how people may stray away from Jung and avoid some of his work because the depths of the unconscious, the depths of the collective consciousness of the world, the depths of the collective unconscious of the world is so frightening, and it's so scary the more you truly understand it, that it's like you don't want to open the gates of hell and let out what might be in there. You don't want to open the gates of hell and potentially discover some of the things that are in there. Or there's a saying that I came across, that it's where our consciousness, or the people we present as, are gentlemanly like and very polite human beings on the surface level, but underneath the unconscious of every human being is a cannibal, essentially. So even that story, or that sentence on its own, right, is chilling. It's frightening, but I think the more you understand the true nature of humanity, and the more you understand the true nature of yourself, you can understand why things go on in the world, and you have better predictive power of what's going to happen in the world the more you understand nature, or our instincts, essentially. So I think we need to study that more. I think it's incredibly fascinating and interesting as well. I don't think you ever get tired of learning about kind of the unconscious mind. What else did I have for acceptance and forgiveness? I like this black tie. I like this little black tie here. And I didn't want to get too descriptive when it comes to women and the things they go through, but I think it's very common. I don't think this is a shocking statement to express out loud, but the amount of sexual abuse or rapes and sexual harassment, this type of thing that women deal with, and it's essentially because they are less physically capable than men. They are at the mercy of men in a lot of physical situations, so they have to deal with that. But in so dealing with that, they may have gone through experiences and still have to learn to accept a man and be willing to forgive men in its entirety to then find a new partner or a new person that they can live the rest of their lives with. So it's very interesting. And I think that specifically trying to learn that is important because I think men are a lot more simple creatures. We're more simple. We're like, you killed my friend, I kill your friend. You conquered my tribe, I'm going to build my army and try to conquer your tribe. And you killed my tribe again, or my lineage, I'm going to build up another army and try to fight you again. So it's kind of like, it's very simple terms, but I think men are more instinctual. I think emotions drive us more. And I think the more emotional intelligence you have, the more emotional control you have in the world, the more dangerous you become. Because if you can sit in a conversation or you can be in a certain situation that something happens that you don't emotionally react to it, you try to observe whatever the situation is and intelligently react and understand the situation. I think that's important. But also what goes into that is I don't think you should mistake the intellect as the most important thing to rely on at all times. I think obviously, say you're confronted in an alleyway by a few people that look dangerous, they look like they're going to harm you. I don't think just using pure intellect to try to analyze the situation is the best thing. I think your instincts, your natural unconscious instincts will tell you the right thing to do. That little gut instinct or that little voice that says, yeah, we're in danger. I think we need to try to develop that more and rely on that thing more than we rely on more of, I believe it's our left hemisphere brain, the intellectual side of our mind. We need to rely on the unconscious, instinctual, intuitive part of our brain and our chemistry. I truly, truly believe the intuitive part of who we are as humans is far better than the intellectual side of our minds that we have overly developed over the last, I don't know how long, you could say 500 years or so. We've become a species that props up intellect and IQ over everything else. But I think if you look at the history of humanity, we were intuitive creatures. We intuitively knew how to hunt animals, or when things were wrong, or when we needed to migrate to other parts of the world for safety. So I think we need to focus on intuition. You need to try to develop intuition. And there are different ways that you develop intuition. I think some people have more of a knack for it, more of a natural ability to listen to their intuition. I believe your intuition is God speaking. So whenever you have an intuitive thought, you could say, or an intuitive feeling to do something, I say listen to God, like listen to it, just don't question it, do it, whatever it is, whatever it looks like. But I saw someone say a way of training your intuition is when you're going into get gas at a gas station, different lines, or you're getting in any sort of grocery line, try to guess intuitively which one you think will finish the fastest. And I don't fully know if I agree with that example, but it was an example I saw of how to train the intuition. I said I was going to talk about acceptance and forgiveness, which I did, but I also kind of just started going off about other things, which is nothing wrong with that. I think it's okay. I do like the suit look for the Be My Guest show. It's a level of professionalism that I think we need. It's a level of professionalism in young men that we need. Young men, we need to pull out all of the tricks. We need to be completely shameless in what we do and completely shameless in our actions, because the hopes of a good future, the hopes of prosperity, and the hopes of having a family and having a little plot of land and having your own house, the hopes of some of those things are dwindling, and they are dwindling very, very, very rapidly. So if you need to be shameless and do things that may be seen as embarrassing or over the top or whatever it is to try to claw and reach and grasp for a better future, I think there's no shame in that, and I think we need to do that. So if you need to pull out the old suit, put the tie on, if that makes you feel more professional, if that makes you feel more confident, if that makes whatever you're doing in life feel like it has a purpose, it has a meaning, then get the suit and tie on, get the fedora out. Maybe not the fedora. I don't know how big of a fan I am of the fedora, but maybe get the walking cane out. Whatever you want, whatever you need to do. So I think that's where we're at. I think young men in life, we're at the point that it's a do or die situation. It's an all or nothing. We're being replaced. We are being targeted, and we are the ones that have to fight for ourselves. But in terms, essentially, we have to fight for people who don't even agree with us. Maybe because it's for their own good, some of the things that we're doing, some of the things we're saying. And I'm going to get into this more in the next episode I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm not going to do it today. But yeah, we're at the point that it's up to the young men in the world to kind of fight for what they want. And, go out on your shield or come back on it. It's what they say. But I don't know how much more I have of, let's see. I'll use my little... One of the harder things to accept when it comes to mental health is some of the things you did when you were potentially unwell or when you were sick. They may be so egregious, or they may be so out of character, or say trying to commit suicide, for example, but you survive. But maybe now you survived and there's a feeling of embarrassment. There's a feeling of, what do these people around me think about me now? How will they treat me now? So maybe for an example like that is trying to forgive yourself and accept yourself for some of these very, very severe and traumatic things that you may have done in times of unease. I think that is a hard thing to do. It's hard to forgive severe instances, especially if you go on the internet and you share and express some of those ideas and some of those experiences to a large portion of the internet that may live on forever. it's hard to get over that and learn to accept that as well. It takes time. I think time is important. I think going easy on yourself is, in simplest terms, to learn and realize that people don't think about you as much as you think about yourself. The world doesn't care about you as much as you think the world cares about you. We are the center of the universe, I think, a lot of us, as we walk through the world. But the more you can try to separate from being the center of the universe and realizing that the things you do, the things you say, don't hold as much weight as you potentially think they do, is kind of a stepping stone to freedom and a stepping stone to liberation in the world and liberation from some of those past actions and past experiences. So you just gotta take some deep breaths and say, it's part of life. Things happen. You evolve. You move on, and you go, oh, yeah, I'm not that person anymore. And the people around you, maybe the friends or the family that constantly try to hold you in to that bubble or that version of what you were of the past or those things you did of the past, disregard those people. Disregard those people, because there will be the people that take some of the actions you did or take some of the things you did from the past and will constantly slide them into conversation. They'll constantly remind you of the things that you did. And it's subtle, but it's a way of pulling you back to a lesser version of yourself or pulling you back to things that you did when you weren't the best version of yourself. So notice this, be cognizant of this, be aware of people that do stuff like this, that try to pull you into a version of yourself that is a lesser version, that is more comfortable for them because it's dragging you down, it's pulling you down. Maybe it's pulling you down to their level. So any of those people, disregard, get rid of them. You don't need them. Or if they're your family and you can't disregard them, I mean, maybe try to elaborate and express to them and tell them, hey, whenever you talk about that time that I did that thing, or you bring up that thing from the past, I'm not that person anymore. I think I have transitioned. I have evolved out of that situation, and I would appreciate if you don't constantly drag me back into a narrative or a version in your mind that you see me, because I don't see myself in that light anymore, and I'm not that person anymore. It's kind of a message you could go about talking. What is up with Kick? Kick is always in the chat. Do you want many viewers? Yo, if you want viewers, I swear Kick is like a super botted stream. Whatever. Just practicing the craft. Practicing the craft. At what point does self-criticism stop being useful and start being harmful? At what point does self-criticism stop being useful and start being harmful? I think self-criticism starts being harmful when you paralyze yourself with criticism. I believe high achievers in this world, I believe people that are visionaries, that want to attain a lot in life, are very self-critical. I think that comes with the territory of wanting to be something great or wanting to achieve something great. You need to constantly be looking at the holes or looking at the flaws. You need to constantly be looking at where the enemy could attack you, so you fill in those gaps. But if you become critical to a point that you are paralyzing yourself and paralyzing production and paralyzing output of something, then you need to reevaluate maybe some of the critiques and back off a little bit. I guess I'll answer a couple more of these questions, and then I'll I'll go on and surf the web. Are there harms that feel unforgivable? Past, present, future. How does the past sneak into your present decisions? How much energy does holding resentment actually cost? Resentment. How much energy does resentment actually cost? I think resentment can be like the downfall of any great man or any great person. If you hold resentment to someone for something they did of the past, you're holding them to the fire of someone that they may not be anymore. And you're festering and ruminating in that resentment and holding on to it. You're holding on to something, and you're becoming a version of yourself that is tied to someone else. And not only are you tied to them, you are enslaved to them. If you hold resentment over someone for something they did, you're enslaved to that person essentially, because they can come and maybe they can say something to you, maybe they can talk about that situation again, and if you're so emotionally tied to it still and hold so much resentment over it, they are essentially the master to you. They have enslaved you without you even recognize it, because you just carry around this resentment all day and this resentment over the years without being able to free yourself from it. So look at it as you aren't feeling better because you hold that hatred for someone. Look at it as they are the master over you because you hold that hatred for someone. They have enslaved you because you are deciding to hold on to the resentment or hold on to the anger for something that they did of the past. And don't give them that power. Don't give them that ability over you, is what I would say to that. And I think there's a quote. I mean, Mike Tyson talks about this, but he says, if someone can emotionally affect you with words, they are your master. If I can say something to you, if I can make a comment, if I can talk about your past, if I can talk about an experience that emotionally triggers you or sends you into a loop that pulls you into some past trauma, I am the master over you. So you need to try to look at anything in your life that someone could say to you that could set you off. Any words, any experiences, whatever, anything. Look at the entirety of your life. Look at different situations. If someone could come up to you and call you a name or relate you to something else or talk about an experience from your past, a traumatic experience, and that affects you emotionally, they are the master over you. They have enslaved you. And I think it's important to recognize what those triggers are, work through them, so that people can't hold power over you. There's also, I think it's a Rumi quote, but it says, if any compliment or any negative feedback to you affects you emotionally, you're a slave. So that goes for positivity as well, and positive feedback, positive comments. So I guess this kind of goes into stoicism a little bit, of kind of being a stoic to anything, positive or negative, that kind of goes on. So I guess that's kind of what that mindset would be. That's what that mindset would be. This lapel's a little tight. Lapel is a little tight, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a little tight. It's a little tight. Just talking. Yesterday I set up, so the last couple months, I would say I've really started getting things in order and getting the ball rolling as far as structurally of sort of my social media empire, you could say, or some of the content I want to create. I've built some of the foundational pillars and set up the channels of what the content is going to look like for each one, or some of the things I'm going to talk about, some of the different ideas or paths I'll go down. So the last couple months I've really got that set up, which I'm really happy with. I'm excited about that because I think that's the hard part. I think the hard part is getting the software all set up, getting the OBS set up, getting the YouTube, getting your channels all set up, figuring out what you're going to talk about, figuring out the kind of person you want to be. I guess not the person you want to be, I guess, but the message you want to portray, essentially. Even though I don't like the word portray. I think it sounds kind of fake. I believe more in just being yourself, letting your true nature, your true authenticity kind of seep out of you naturally into whatever you produce. I think that's how you garner a true family, a true audience, is authenticity and being your natural, unapologetic self. But I've got all these things set up, so I'm excited for that. I'm excited that I think some of the hard work is done, because the hardest thing in life is getting the ball rolling. Essentially, if you have a boulder, the hardest part of moving the boulder is getting it to move initially. Because once you get the boulder moving, it's easier to keep it going. But the initial friction of getting the boulder to actually start budging and moving is the hardest part. So if you can get that, if you can break that barrier of starting to move the boulder, then it's just keep pushing, leg after leg, foot after foot, keep pushing, keep moving the boulder, and the boulder will be easier and easier to push. Not only because you become stronger as you push the boulder, but the boulder will deteriorate into a beautiful round little sphere that you will be able to carry in the palm of your hand and throw it wherever you want. It's kind of the metaphor I'll go with for that. But let's go stream the interwebs. You want to see something crazy? Let me go grab it. Let me go grab it real quick. Okay, so this suit that I'm wearing now was from a wedding back in the pandemic. And look at this mask. How I mean, hindsight is always 20/20, but it's so astonishing that and so insane what we were doing as far as like the masks and like, look at I don't even want to put it on. I don't even want to put it on. Fine. Look at this. This was... So, I'll take the mask off now. I'll take the mask off. So, the wedding was outside. And there were mask mandates for gatherings outdoors. Think about the insanity of that. But yeah, I pulled out this suit jacket, and this was in the pocket. And I said to myself, we had a mask mandate for a wedding, outdoor wedding, in the middle of the summer. That's some wild times we lived through. Some wild times, and we almost don't even talk about the significance of what the pandemic was or what it did because I think the pandemic was kind of like the Rubicon, and we crossed it in the sense that there was immeasurable change after the pandemic and the lockdowns. I think some of the governments and the powers that be ushered in a kind of like a new life and a new process of how things work. But not only did they, I think naturally through COVID, how things change, how small businesses shut down, how Amazon and delivery food, some of these things that changed naturally through the lockdowns and came out the other side, it's almost unrecognizable what the world was like before. I think we almost forget, and I think we have been in this form of a haze, this form of mist that we haven't been able to see through, that it's taken years for us to kind of get through the clouds, get through the mist, and fully understand of what's been going on the last couple of years and how the world kind of looks like on the other side of not only the pandemic and the lockdowns, but how the world looks like on the other side of the pandemic, the lockdowns, and then the fog that that followed the lockdown. So I think we're in a different world for sure, and I think there are many people that have yet to discover the severity and the implications of the other world that we're in now. But we are in it without a question of a doubt. We are in the different world after that. So these bad boys on. The headphones look all right with this suit. Headphones looked more goofy with what I was wearing before. Okay. Hello and welcome to let's go to YouTube. Hello. Okay, I just need to make sure I'm still talking loud with the microphone. I wasn't sure if it was picking it up properly or not. Let's go and change this. Hello. Beautiful. Okay, we're locked and loaded. Let's go, people. Let's go. I used to shine like I'm gold. Now it's all indigo. There used to be a video of Mike talking about the devil and God, and it was awesome. It's like a 10-minute clip, and I have no idea where it went.
You wake up late, have an unhealthy...
Fight.
You did always cry before?
Yeah.
What were you crying about?
I don't know. That's just who I am.
What's the emotion? Are you?
I'm getting ready to change into somebody I don't like.
Mike Tyson. You are the greatest fighter that...
What is this? I don't know how I went from talking about forgiveness and acceptance, and then I'm watching Mike Tyson. Maybe, okay, that's why. Mike Tyson. Maybe that's why I went to Mike Tyson. It's only ever clips.
Rogan asked you about the Conqueror. He goes, what were the common themes? You go, they all asked God for forgiveness. Talk about the importance of forgiveness. What did you mean by that?
I just found that the forgiveness is more powerful than a bullet.
How so?
Because some people can't handle somebody forgiving them. And some people kill themselves after somebody forgives them. It's really powerful.
Rogan asked you about the Conqueror.
It made me like myself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that?
Yeah, I do,
It
yeah.
makes me like myself.
Yeah, it gives you forgiveness of yourself.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I never wanted.
Oh, I'm gonna get copyright strike for those sounds. What's this
Obviously,
sound like?
Raging Bull's a movie, it ends, but there was redemption, little bit of redemption. He forgave himself at the end of that movie.
No, that was the biggest redemption. You can't get any other redemption if you don't forgive yourself.
Speak on it.
Listen, you know, I have to forgive myself. You can't continue to go on. Like sometimes, I might think sometimes that I'm really a savage sometimes. And some people might not deserve to have a peaceful existence. Because I think so. They don't deserve that because they piss me off. It's just a reason. They had some reason I think they don't deserve that.
Still, you'll have that.
No, it may pop up every now and then. And I have to calm down and say I'm not a fucking savage. You know, I'm a loving father. I'm a husband. Mike, I have to remind myself. That's how fucked up I was. That's how far back I was deep into the savage, the animal. I have to succeed because of my insecurity. I can't succeed unless I'm a savage. I can't do it normally because I'm inequipped. So I have to be an animal to do it. I can't do it respectfully or honorably.
Man, I love Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is one of my favorite humans. One of my favorite humans. Not so much, I don't really even care for Mike Tyson as the boxer, as he was the boxer. What I like about Mike Tyson is the person he was after the boxer, after the fame, after the money, after the jail. The person, the reflection, the wisdom, the forgiveness, the acceptance of himself, of others, and that wisdom in his old age that comes out in these sound bites is they are truly gems when he is speaking. And I think people miss that because of this. They tie him to his history, or they tie him to that animal of the past when he was boxing, and they miss some of the true wisdom that he provides.
Sometimes it's hard to accept who you are. You know, sometimes I see young kids out here.
I just want to see him talking straight up. I don't want to see.
From my experience, I found out God tests you. He tests you and see how much of this you can take before you say, let's just be finished with this. He wants to show you something. He wants to see how much you can take, how much you can handle of life. You say you love life, you want to live life. I'm going to show you life. Life is beautiful, but you have to accept the good and the bad as being beautiful. You can't accept the good. Oh, this is beautiful. Then we lose some of our life sucks. Life is beautiful because life gives us the ability to just know them on our journey in life. We met them. We love them.
Life is beautiful, but you have to accept the good and the bad. You love life, I'm gonna show you life.
They cared about us. That's the purpose of life, just to enjoy what we had while we journeyed through it. Because sometimes we don't understand, like, what is this thing? What is my purpose? Why am I here? Why do I have to go through this pain? Why do I have to go through this fear all the time? Why can't it just be peaceful all the time? Then it wouldn't be life. You know, it wouldn't be life. We have to take life at its terms, life on life terms, not life on our terms. We have to live life on life terms, not on our terms. I keep thinking, every time I think I make a mistake, I keep thinking it's all about love. Love is the essence of life. I keep believing that. But I'm battling it with it. Thinking, come on, is it that simple? That we're fighting for something that's just right there, you can do it, but you just don't want to let go. You're afraid to be happy, you're afraid.
Man, Mike is that guy. I don't know why I'm watching motivational stuff at the end of the last couple shows. I think it's cool though. I think I think when I tend to go back to motivational things is kind of to pull inspiration or pull motivation to keep me on track, to keep me saying, don't give up on what you're doing. Don't stray, don't steer off of the path that you chose or the path that has been laid out for you. And it may seem that there is a lot of uncertainty or unease with what I'm doing, and I think in those times is when I enjoy going to motivational things and looking at some of these motivational videos of the past that have brought great information and wisdom before. I think his name is Brian Stacy. Yeah, nailed it. That's not Brian Stacy. This guy's a genius. The Phoenix seminar, 10-hour seminar. I think I've seen half of this.
Michael's big gift sale is. Why is Amazon?
Of paper and write down goals and today's date, and then write down 10 goals that you would like to accomplish in the next 12 months, and write them in the present tense. Almost like you're submitting an
and then circle the one that's most important to you. I think I've seen this before.
Order, and just write down: I earn, I achieve, I weigh, I drive such and such a car, I own, whatever it happens to be. And the goals will be financial goals, family goals, physical goals, and so on. Write down 10, and then you take this list of 10 and you say, if I had a magic wand and I could wave this magic wand and I could have any one goal on my list within 24 hours, which one goal would have the greatest positive impact on my life? Which one goal? And go over it. And usually this will jump out at you, and put a circle around that goal. And that's a goal you transfer to a clean sheet of paper, and then you follow the 7 steps. Write it down, set a deadline, make a list of everything you have to do to accomplish it, organize the list into a checklist, take action, and then do something every day. If you'll just do this simple.
Yeah, Brian Stacy's seminars are very, very good. Like that Phoenix one, he has some great stuff. This is what I envision myself doing at some point in life, is motivational speeches. Believe it or not. No, stop it. What is going on? There's a black dude who does motivational speeches. Don't know his name. He's really good. He's really good. Oh, is this him? Les Brown. Yes, let's go. Oh, this guy. This guy will move you. This guy will get you out your seat.
We've been working on a job for 17 years, and they come in and tell you you're finished and give you 1 week severance pay. And you got to start all over again. It's hard when you're married and raising children and your children are crawling and your husband dies unexpectedly. It's hard handling just the tragedies of life. It's hard when you're working on something and you put everything you have in it and it doesn't work out. You lose your money and other people's money. It's hard. It was rough when I lost my job, and I could not find a job. It was humiliating and embarrassing, borrowing money, and then I couldn't pay the money back when I told them I would. That's rough. How people look at you, how they respond to you. It's very hard. It's humiliating. Here's what I discovered that happens to you in life, that you will go through things, and while you're going through them, you can't understand why it's happening to you. But after you go through it and you get back and you look at it and you say, oh, now I understand why I needed that lesson. Have you ever happened to you? Raise your hand. Has it ever happened to you that I couldn't understand it then, but after I got through it, then I saw that that was preparing me for bigger and better.
This guy's great. He has some, I think there's one of him in a stadium, sold out stadium. That one's great also.
As you go through the challenges of life and you look at it and embrace whatever comes to you, don't run from it. Step toward it. Don't try and duck it like most people do. See, most people want it easy. See,
run towards the storm. Charge towards the storm, like the buffalo, so you'll spend less time in it.
Easy come, easy what? Easy go. See, but when you go at what you're going to deal with and you deal with the difficulties of it, when you handle those hard things close at hand, making those hard decisions right now that you don't want to make, learning those things that you don't like to do, but you know that in order for you to get where you want to go, this is one of the hoops that you have to flip through. And I'm saying to you, whatever you got to do it, because if you don't, life is going to whoop you until you surrender and say, okay, all right, I cooperate, okay, I learned, okay. They had to wear me out a long time. So if it's hard, then do it hard. Now, how do you hang in there during the hard, difficult times, Les? You must have faith. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in your abilities. You've got to believe in your service, your company, your ideas, unquestionably. You've got to have faith.
You got to believe in yourself and no one else does.
And that faith gives you patience. That it's not going to happen as quickly as you want it to happen. A lot of things are going to happen that will catch you off guard. And so therefore you've got to deal with and handle it as it comes. And not only that, but that...
See if there's the one of him in the stadium. He's in a huge stadium. It's not over until you win. Yeah, let's see if we can find that.
What I'd like for you to do right now, I want you to think about your dream, because I'm in a room full of dreamers. Think about your dream right now. I want you to think about it and envision it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me share something with you. I do not believe that any of us have dreams that were not given to us for the purpose of accomplishing those particular dreams. And I want to share something with you that has changed my life. I started out, as was indicated by Jack, it's very humble beginnings. I don't know what that dream is that you have. I don't care how far-fetched it might appear to be. I don't care how disappointing it might have been as you've been working toward.
Look at this stadium he's in. Wait till they pan. Boom. Look at that. Are you kidding me? Up on stage doing a motivational speech in front of a stadium?
Willing to take a chance, and most people won't do that. Most of the people that you talk to try and bring them into the business, these are not risk takers. Most people have done all that they're ever going to do. They raise a family, they earn a living, and then they die. But people who are running toward their dreams, I didn't.
Okay, if there's one AI site builder,
I want to hear him say,
because I didn't believe in myself. It's possible for you to that a lot of people like to complain. We sat down and we played several other games, and finally, after the 11th game, John Leslie won, and he got up and he yawned, and he said, I'm ready to go to sleep now. And I'm saying to you, what if all of us took that attitude after we face a rejection and a no, or we have a meeting and no one shows up, or somebody say, you can count on me, and they don't come through? What if we have that kind of attitude? The car's repossessed. Nobody believes in you. You've lost again and again and again. The lights are cut off, but you're still looking at your dream, reviewing it every day, and say to yourself, it's not over until I win. Life will yield to you. Now here's the next step. Repeat after me, please. It's possible.
look at
I
that.
can live my dream. It's necessary.
It's not over until I win. Amazing, amazing speeches there. Some great stuff. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to get into watching some motivational stuff at the end there. But you never know where the live streams will take you. Anyways, with that being said, let's wrap up the show. That is this episode of Be My Guest. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you can extract some sort of wisdom or some positivity from the episode. If you liked the episode, please like the video. If you have some feedback, leave a comment and subscribe as well while you're at it. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you tomorrow.